Well, history may not repeat itself, but it certainly does rhyme. And we can learn a lot about how the Department of Justice went after Nixon and the Nixon administration officials for their criminality once, of course, Nixon stepped down. Trump won't be in office forever. There will be a post-Trump world. How will the future Department of Justice handle it? How will we repair the breach? Elie Honig, CNN's senior legal advisor, former federal prosecutor in Manhattan, and deputy head of its organized crime unit, joined Legal AF and Karen Friedman-Agnifilo for a special interview centered around his new book, When You Come for the King. And here's a clip.
With the book, the title, When You Come at the King, of course, is partially a reference to When You Come at the King, You Best Not Miss, which is from Omar and The Wire and before him, but I think of it coming from Omar. And it was, I finished writing this book May or so of this year, maybe. And it was clear from the first few months of the Trump administration that would be the order of the day and that it would be fundamentally different than Trump won even. And so that, but look, did I expect it to go quite this far? I think the honest answer is probably not. We haven't seen indictments yet, but it seems like we're on the brink of it. And this is a big moment and a dark moment.
So tell us what you've learned and what your perspective is of where we are and put it in context for us.
So I loved having these conversations that you mentioned. I got over 36 people to go on record with me, from Watergate prosecutors to people on both sides of Clinton and Ken Starr to Joe Biden's legal team, Hunter Biden's legal team, Donald Trump's legal team, people who've been prosecuted, White House officials, all the rest. If I had to boil it down, I would say we have had what Donald Trump is doing now is different from anything we've seen going back to Watergate, and I include Watergate in that. No president in history has ever liked being investigated. Who would, right? And to varying extents from Nixon through now, we've seen presidents undermine or at times obstruct or delay these investigations. But we've never seen someone get to a point where they've said, there will be none of these investigations. And if there are, I'm coming back at you. You're getting fired, you're getting investigated, you're getting indicted, something bad is going to happen to you. So even if you look back at Watergate, that's sort of the touchstone for all this. And I sort of have a chapter in the book where I'm talking about inside accounts. And if you look at the Saturday Night Massacre, right? Nixon has the special prosecutor, Archibald Cox, fired. The AG resigns, the deputy AG resigns. However, because of political pressure, because of the norms of the day, he didn't end the whole case. And I talked to Jill Wine-Banks and Jim Quarles, who were then 26 and 30, and now you can do the math on what they are now. They tell me the story of the morning after. And they said, we all came in and we sat on the floor because our desks were marked off with police tape and we didn't know what to do. And Archibald Cox, they let him back in the building. That would never happen now. But he said, do not give him Nixon. Do not give him what he wants. You stay here. You finish the job. And they did. And 2 weeks or so later, Leon Jaworski was brought in as the new independent prosecutor, and the subpoena, the Supreme Court decision, the resignation, the rest. So to me, the lesson there is, one, brave independent prosecutors can make a big difference. And two, even Nixon wasn't willing to go so far as what Trump's doing right now. Look, I'm not a fan of Jim Comey. It's in the book. He takes a lot of heat in the book. But I don't see anything that leads me to believe he committed chargeable perjury. He split hairs and he was not fully forthcoming, but that's not perjury. I have a chapter in the book about Jim Comey's mishandling of the 2016 Hillary Clinton email investigation. And I use that as an example of why we do need some rules. I don't argue the rules are perfect. I argue the rules are imperfect. But if you abandon the rules altogether, like Loretta Lynch and Jim Comey did in 2016, you end up with someone like Jim Comey making it up on the fly. And that ends up with him backing himself into this corner where he ends up making two essentially election eve announcements about the Hillary Clinton case. I do a bit of a dive in the book, a page or two, on whether that moment swung the election. And I think the 2016 election. And I think the short answer is probably, but we can't know for sure. And the fact that resulted from Jim Comey basically just ad-libbing this, Loretta Lynch should have put in a special counsel. She actually, I note in the book, they considered it, but they didn't do it. And she basically said, I'm just going to defer to this guy. That's not the way things work. And when you make it up on the fly, you walk into that kind of situation.
Interesting. And you say in your book that you think having a permanent special counsel, sort of an independent counsel, if you will, is the solution. But I want to challenge you on that. Well, first of all, I want you to tell us why you think that's the solution. And I want to challenge you because in a way here in New York, and I know you and I used to spar a little bit over the merits of this, we had Alvin Bragg, the Manhattan DA, who independently investigated and prosecuted Trump, and it literally did nothing, right? He's now our president. So why do you think things would be, so tell us why you think that's the solution, what that would look like, and why you think that is, why that would make things better.
So I don't want to call what I offer a solution. It's a proposal because there is no perfect, God knows there's no perfect solution. And you will debate me and I will concede at the front. It is absolutely debatable. Like there are points there are weaknesses in this. If you look at history, every 20 or so years, we develop a new system. We had the independent counsel system came in after Watergate because Watergate, there were no rules. I mean, John Dean, your friend and mine, said it best on record. He said it was ad-libbed. They did a good job. They figured it out. Then we had that for 20 some years till 1990, for 21 years till 1999, when because of the Ken Starr disaster, everyone agreed this needs to go. And that's when we got the current reg. So here we are 26 years later. What I think is the best system is a semi-permanent special counsel with a staff and office inside DOJ with a degree of insulation removal from the AG, but not complete removal. Ideally would be presidentially nominated, Senate confirmed, to give us somebody, that would be a filtering process where you need somebody with bipartisan or nonpartisan credentials, with higher protections against being fired, and with a staff that can support him. So look, it's not perfect, but I should say also a set term of years, could be 5 or 10, that would carry across presidential administration. So it's kind of like an inspector general with prosecutorial powers. And I know the criticisms would be, well, then you're going to have a person who's just constantly hovering over the president. I agree that's a problem, but you have to put some faith in the people that you put in those jobs to do them right. You do have checks on that. And I think it's actually a good thing. It's a better system than saying, Ken Starr, you're on Bill Clinton, go. Robert Hur, Joe Biden, Jack Smith, Donald Trump. I think it takes away at least the perception of heat-seeking missile with blinders on. So it's not perfect, but I want to say I think it's a better system. I think it would give that person more permanency, political accountability, which matters, but still a degree of independence. And I drew that, by the way, I read the law review articles and all that, but I also talked to everyone I spoke to for this book. I said, what worked for you about the system you were operating under, and what would you like to see change? So I'm interested in your thoughts, though.
Yeah, no, like I said, I just see Donald Trump doing what he's already doing, right? You're supposed to have these independent boards like the Federal Reserve Board, the FTC, and he's removing these bipartisan or nonpartisan independent people from his, who are supposed to serve in those roles. So I just wonder, given where we are, where he's running roughshod over all of this, how that would even work under someone like Trump.
I guess I should make clear, I'm not so Pollyanna-ish as to suggest this will be implemented under Donald Trump. I mean, I say clearly in the book, I don't think anyone can argue with this. It is clear there will be no inward-facing investigation for the next 3 years. My pitch here is there will be life after Trump, and we're going to have to fix a lot of this. There's going to be a lot of guardrails, kicked down, burned to the ground. Not just this, inspectors general, ethics rules, restrictions on private profiteering. I mean, you and I could list 10 different things. But I argue this one has to come back in some form. And this is as good an occasion as any to bring it back. This one meaning a workable mechanism for outside independent prosecutors. I understand, look, whoever comes next, whether it's J.D. Vance or Gretchen Whitmer or, you name your person, it would be nice to have nobody in a position like that to loom over you. But it is in the better interest of good government. I mean, there's a quote from Archibald Cox that I used sort of towards the end. And just weeks after he was fired by Nixon, he says something like, we have long understood that when it comes to investigations of the president, there's inherently conflicts of interest that no insider could credibly handle, and there has to be an outsider. Now, he was not, rose-colored glasses. He'd just been fired. But I do think we need some. But yeah, I'm not saying this would withstand Trump. I mean, Trump is sui generis. But I think we have to think beyond that.
Welcome back. You're on Legal AF, the YouTube channel. Take a minute, hit that free subscribe button. If you like this kind of content, even if you don't agree with everything that we say or all of our analysis or those of our guests, I think it's important that we all come here together under one banner of Legal AF and regularly talk about these things. 10 new videos a day here on Legal AF. And then, of course, we've got Legal AF, the Substack. So I'm glad you're here. Take a minute, hit the free subscribe button, and we'll see you at our next Legal AF Hot Take, or podcast. Thank you. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.